All right, in this video, I'm going to show you we're going to explore Arduino Yun and talk about how to configure it, how you communicate with it, and then how to look at the sample programs, all right? So as I said, Arduino Yun comes to you as small piece. It has the Ethernet cord, has the power cord and the communication cord, port, and it has a USB port. Now, this is an Linux operating system, so you can actually telnet to it, you can FTP to it, and then you can, once you telnet to it, you can actually issue all the commands that you know on Linux, all right? So how do we use, or how do you communicate with this Arduino Yun? As I was telling you, we have here a board because we wanted to simulate different things. We didn't have, I mean, you can always buy sensors like temperature, proximity, ultra infrared, whatever, right? And we have here basically like a dial. This is the analog, simulating an analog. We have two switches here for digital input. And then we have LEDs, you know, for turning on and off, okay? And once you turn on Arduino, once you plug in, this is the cord, this is the power cord. Once you plug in the power cord in Arduino, well, this is like your phone charger. Once you plug it in, it takes a little bit of time to turn on, okay? And once you turn it on, I'm gonna show you how to communicate with this, all right? So you can order these, of course, from there's many websites. You just order these from online, and then it's just take it out of the box and then plug it into your computer, okay? All right, let's take a look at how we communicate with this, all right? Now, of course, to program it, you need to download Arduino IDE. So you just go to a website, to Google, and search it for Arduino IDE, and then you download it. Different versions. These are open source, so you can download different, the latest version and install it in your computer. Okay, we'll get back to this in a minute. All right. Once you plug it into your computer, you can communicate with this through Wi-Fi. Now, this has a hotspot built into it. So if you look at your Wi-Fi list, you will see in this case, it's called Lenino, and then it has the MAC address associated with it. And I'm connected at the same time to the LAN wire, so you can actually connect to the internet. So that's how you connect to, originally, how you connect to the Lenino or the Arduino. So what do? There's two ways to do it. You can connect to it. You can go to a telnet. You can go to terminal. I don't think I have telnet here. You can go to terminal command and then type in telnet. I don't think I have it. But let's see. You can download different telnet program. Yeah, it's not installed. So telnet allow you to communicate with it using the command line, all right? Or you can actually go to a browser, and the Arduino has an IP address that comes, once you plug it in, like a default IP address that comes with it. And then I have them written here. The IP address is 192.168.240.1, and the password is Dog Hunter, okay? In this model, it's called Dog Hunter. So you can search and, it depends on what model you're using, you can use the proper password, all right? So if I go to the browser, and type in 192.168.1, you're actually getting to the configuration screen. You're logging into the HTTP server that actually comes with Arduino. So now all you need to type in is the Dog Hunter, and then you're in. All right. The problem that I have, I mean, you can configure this actually to connect to your home wireless, right? But if you're working in an organization, it's not as simple as connecting to a wireless, okay? Because even wireless, they're secured. So you need to put, for example, if you want to configure it, you can configure it to you can give it a name, the password, and then you can connect to a specific wireless if you want to, all right? And then you can assign to it a specific address if you want. So you can configure this just like you can configure a hotspot or a router, all right? Okay, I didn't mess with this too much because the solution that we use requires more than just this, okay? And if you want to try things at home, you can do this part and no problem, okay? You can go to the advanced, and then you can do a lot more than just what I mentioned, okay? All right, so that's how you get to the configuration of your Arduino, okay? I'm not a network guy, I'm an application guy, so my main focus is on developing the apps or the applications, all right? Definitely, if you wanted to make it work properly, and we had to work with our network engineer to make sure that it is done properly and securely, all right? So that's how you communicate with the Arduino Yun to get to the configuration session. And the address we use is 192.168.240.1. Now, if you're connected to the LAN, if you connect Arduino to a LAN, of course, you will not get this IP address. You will get an assigned IP address from your organization. So you will have to use that IP address that you will get. And the way you get to it, the way you get that IP address, you can ask your network engineer, or you can log into Arduino, and then from there you can get the IP address that you're associated with. Okay. All right. So that is how we get to the configuration. Now, how about the application? How do you actually start programming this thing? As I said, you needed to download Arduino IDE, and I already have it installed here. So if you look at Arduino IDE, it's a very nice tool. It uses C as a programming language, and it has many, many examples. Now, of course, I didn't work on all of this, but I worked on few of them that I found very, very useful. Okay, and I'll explain what these are. First, if you look at File under Examples, you have many things that you can just click on it, and then they'll give you the code for it. The one I use, because we were doing communication with the server, we use Bridge. There's another one under Bridge. You can do the first one is that's called Bridge. That is pretty simple. And I use HTTP client, and I'll explain these two parts, okay, for you. If you look at the Bridge example, I already created one. Once you select it, you actually get the code that you need to communicate with this Arduino. All right? And the way it works, the way it's divided, it is divided into different modules. And if you're familiar, you need to be familiar with C, of course, to understand what's happening here. But the code is already working, and to test it, all you need to do is that you put the IP address through a web browser, and then you pass to it this command, depending on what port you are using. So if I go to the browser here, and if I type in 192, and then you can see that I already doing something here. So if I say 192 for Arduino digital, so I'm calling the digital function in my code, and then I'm saying this digital 2, I want it to set it on. So if I do this, it goes to the server. Oh, did I not do that? Okay. If I do Arduino, okay, this one here, what happens, it's communicate with Arduino. Now I have a problem with the LED. You wouldn't be able to see it. But what happens, the LED burned out, but the LED would actually turn on, okay? Um, so what happened here, if I look at the browser again, I told it, set it to 1. So this is coming back from the Arduino. And this is how you can communicate with your Arduino. All you need to do is an HTTP request. If you know the IP address, you send it the IP address within your app or within your application. So from your web server, you can communicate with this through this IP address. Or if it has a name, you can put just the name, the domain name or the DNS name, and then you can just go, issue the command. All right. So if we look at the code again, here is the, you can search for, oh, before you do that, let me explain to you what this, before we actually take a look at the code, a few things that you need to know. First, you need to configure it. You need to be able to communicate to it. So once you plug it into the Arduino, once you can plug it into your computer, now you should be able to see it. If you select here and say board, you see that? First of all, you need to select the board. What board do you use? Because Arduino has different board. The one that we're using is Arduino Yun. So you select the Arduino Yun. The next thing you need to do is that you need to select what port you're communicating with. So that port is COM4, the USB that is connected to. So those are important. The other thing that you can see is like your console. If you're using programming before, you can actually see all the input and output. You can actually see them in here. Okay, so you can, if you issue any print or print line, you can, for testing and debugging, it will be in here. All right, so how do I send this program to the controller, to Arduino? All you do is that it has actually a compiler. So all you need to do is that you can do verify, make sure that it compiles properly. And so now it compiled properly. But if you make a mistake, for example, it's a C, so if you miss a semicolon and you do verify, you'll get an error. Okay. All right. So you cannot compile it, but you can't send it to the controller if you have an error. The other part is that you can actually send it to you can send it to the to Arduino by just clicking on download. So now it's sent to the controller and it's ready to be used, done uploading. So if when I go to that browser, I was telling you, I'm actually calling, we're communicating with the Arduino and we're sending a command, which is Arduino digital to 1. So what happens, if you look at this, this is your loop. This is keep running, come running, and then you have a function called process client. You get a client, process client, this is the process. You have a switch statement or an if statement says, am I testing? Do I have a digital command? Do I have an analog command? And do I have a mode command? So if you want to have your own, you can do something similar. So in the digital command, this is the one we were using. In the digital command, I am doing what? I am executing digital command function. So if you go to the digital command function, here's the digital command function. Now, we're using C here, so you have to do a little bit of raw data manipulations or reading. So it's you monitor, you scan for these characters. If I, for example, I'm looking at this string that I've received. If this is the string, this is what I received. I know which pin I want to use because these are digital pin. If I want to read, I can set the value by digital.write. If I want to read it, I can do digital.read. And then here I send back the response. And then if you remember, this is what you saw, pin D2, SE2, 2, 1, whatever, right? So that is what you're getting from here, okay? And if you want to do anything else, You know, if you want to do custom things, you can do it in here too. All right. So that is that Arduino. This is the bridge program that I use. Okay, how to communicate with the Arduino. The other one that I've used, and I found it, maybe I don't want all these elaborate things. Maybe I just want to send information to a client. Okay, the other example that I used, and I found it very helpful too, is that the HTTP client. Okay, the HTTP client. It's as simple as you do. For example, again, you have the loop, but here in that inside that loop, for example, in this case, you're gathering temperature information, and what are you doing with it? You're sending it to a browser that has an HTTP. This is like, for example, client get. This is, you're sending information to the client. You can, of course, have parameters in here, and then in here you have while, because you're reading the feedback from the browser. Okay, and again, there is no, I mean, there's JSON, but I haven't used it, and I don't think, I'm sure eventually you'll be able to process JSON data and things like that, JSON response. But in this case, you're just reading it as a string, and it could be just simple okay or not, you know, like the data logged or not logged, or if it's not logged, maybe you can send an SMS message from here, or you can send a notification to an app through your browser. Okay. All right. So that is one example. Now let me show you another part. The analog part is that the nice thing about this is that you don't need to worry about converting data from analog to digital and things like that. We have a dial. Remember I said we have a dial. If I look at the browser again, did we close Chrome? If I do, for example, Arduino dial analog, I think I didn't test it. And you need to know what port it is connected to, which is, let's say A0. No, let me see the command. What is the command exactly here? See, they gave you a list of the command, all right? So, Arduino. You see this? You can say Arduino digital or Arduino analog, okay? So if I do this part here, I forgot to do the Arduino. Get confusing when you're using Mac and Windows, you know, the copy. One uses command, one uses control, and that's what's happening here. Shoot. Yeah, sorry guys. Okay. Of course, if we can get rid of that comma here. So it does some reading. So you're reading the value, the analog value from the from Arduino. Okay. I just changed the value on the dial, and you can see that it changes accordingly. All right. So that is how you can get information from Arduino and do something with it and send it to a server. These two programs, if you want to gather information, send it to a server. These two programs, either you use HTTP client or the bridge, are very, very useful. There's another one, of course, you can use the post, because if you don't want to do HTTP get, you can use HTTP post. And I have another example here with post test, okay? All right, so all these are different ways you can connect with the, here's how you do the post, okay? I did try HTTPS, but it did not work with HTTPS. So it depends on what you want to do. If you want to do, you can use HTTP post, or you can use the client, or you can use the bridge to gather information and communicate with the server. And we are done with this video. See you in the next video.